Welcome. We're going to be doing a motion graphic in Premiere Pro, learning some new techniques. So I want to get started here. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up our composition here. We're going to go to New Composition, okay? And this should pop up composition settings window. And we're going to call this motion graphic. Motion graphic here. Let me turn off my cap locks. Graphic. And then if you want to put your name on it, that would be great, so that we know later on when you turn it in. Now the settings that we're going to change here, we're going to look down in here under custom. We're going to go down to UDH 4K, and we're going to set it at the one which is 30 frames per second, or the one that would round up to 30 frames. So the one that's 29.9. Okay, that should set everything else up the same. So you're going to be looking at presets here. Double check to make sure that this is 29.97 or 30, and then that changes the duration to 33.10. Otherwise, you can do so. Black background is perfect, and we're going to click OK. Now that pops up our composition in our composition window here, but we don't need to use the tutorials over here, so we're going to switch from our Learn menu to our default menu. If you don't have these here, you can add them here by going to this drop-down menu. You can go to Edit Workspaces here, Live. It's not working how I thought. Let's go up here. This is the easiest way to do it, though. We're just going to go Windows, Workspace, and we are going to go to Default. So that should set it up so that everyone's project panels all look the same here. We should have Project on the left-hand side, our timeline down here where we can work with our composition, and our viewer here. Now, that also sets up that we have our properties and our effects over here, which we're going to be using. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add an overlay to the screen using our rectangle tool. So we're going to go up here and grab our rectangle tool. If I hover here, you can see the hotkey would be Q. I could just hit that on the keyboard as well. And I'm going to draw a box around here. Now, if you're too zoomed in and you can't see the gray space behind here, take your mouse wheel and wheel out a little bit so that you can see here. And I'm going to come up on the gray space in this corner and just drag it across. Perfect. All right, so we have that. Now, what we want to do is we want to turn and adjust some of the coloring in here. So we're going to go up here first, and we're going to click on the word stroke, stroke options here. And that should pop up a little window, and we want to turn our stroke off. Okay, and that's going to just allow us to have just a plain old colored screen here, and I'm going to click OK. Now I can change the color of my fill by going on the fill blank here, click on the color, and you can set this color to any color that you'd like to have your project when you're running here. Maybe for this one I'll do kind of a Preble theme. Okay. So I can find more of a yellow color, and then I can adjust it here. Perfect. And then click OK, and we can set that up. All right, next up, what we want to do is we want to adjust some of the things going on with this. And we want to go down here, and we're going to add to this shape, we're going to add a trim path. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to have the shape enter in a specific path. Okay, so if I go down, I'm going to click on Add. I add Trim Path. We don't need to have anything else open under there under Rectangle, but here's the properties. Now I can open up Trim Path down here, and we're going to change some of the settings on our trim path. Let me pull this up so we can kind of have a little more room to work. And what we want to do is we want to, okay, our timeline bar is here. We're going to animate this, but we're going to set this at 0%, okay? And if you notice that, what it's doing is it's swiping this down in an angle, because here's our degrees for the circular angle here for the offset. It's swiping this down and turning off the rectangle until I get to 0%. Now the rectangle is 0% visible, and what I want to do is right now it's doing this from the upper corner. Okay, I'm going to bring this down to the lower corner so it sweeps up instead of down. And I do that by changing my offset, and I'm going to slide this down to negative. So positive would be here, negative 300. You notice how that's wrapping around somewhere so it gets over in this corner is perfect. Okay, if I keep going, we'll do it twice. So this way, if I do it this way, it would wipe down. If I do it this way to around negative 300, it will do it. It will swipe up instead of down. Now, if I grab my percent, you notice that it's swiping up from this lower corner, and that's what we want. So that's our effect. We want to turn this at 0 frames. We want to have it completely off so that it starts our screen with a black window. Now, what we want to do is we just want to bump forward about 7-8 frames and have it sweep up to 100% at that time. So we need to drag the timeline here up to 7 or 8 frames. Right now, we set this project to be 33 seconds. We have it zoomed out to all 33 seconds. Let's zoom in until we can see our frames. So I'm going to drag my zoom button down here. Here's just seconds, represented by the S. Now we have frames. Okay. If I keep going, we can see frames represented by F. Okay, until I get to singular frames. All right, so I'm going to do that here, and I'm going to drag my time indicator up to 7 frames. Now at 7 frames, what we want to do, actually, let's go back. We're going to do one thing first, because any changes I make here is just going to change it for the whole timeline unless I turn on my animation. How do we do that? Remember, we turn on our stopwatch. So setting at 0, we're 0%. Turn on the stopwatch. Now it's going to set a key so it stays 0. Now I bring it up to 7 and I bring that up to 100%. And it is going to set a new key for us automatically, and I can scroll my timeline and we see the desired effect. All right, that's part 1. Come back and join me in part 2 in a few minutes and we will continue with this project. Thanks for joining me.